Yo, Monday. And we've got an energy presentation today. Here, now, this is it. Starting with Felix Salmon, who, writing in Reuters, normally writes for Reuters, why fuel economy standards make sense. Fuel economy standards is normally the way the United States goes. Right. Eduardo Porter has a very good explanation today of why it makes much more sense from an economic perspective to simply start raising gasoline taxes than it does to implement even tougher fuel efficiency standards. But before we get to the meat of his argument, it's worth correcting his numbers. Now I'll give you his the conclusion here as well, and I'm not going to go to the rest of the article where his numbers are picked apart by Felix. You'll have to go follow the link and do it yourself. In Britain, where gas and diesel are taxed at, let's round it up, $4 a gallon, the American automaker Ford sells a compact Fiesta model that will go nearly 86 miles on a gallon. See, lots of numbers to follow, tricky, but okay. That's in Britain. Gas, diesel, taxed $4 a gallon. Ford sell a Fiesta that does 86 miles to the gallon. In the United States, where gas is taxed at only 50 cents a gallon, 50 cents as opposed to $4 a gallon, Ford Fiestas will carry you only 33 miles on a gallon of gas. Now, follow the link, read the rest of the article. But I'm not here to go into that terribly tricky discussion about British gallons and all sorts of ways of measuring miles per gallon and all that sort of thing. We've got that there's an awful lot of basic fact in there. British taxes on gas and diesel are very high, $4 a gallon, and they're very low in the United States at 50 cents a gallon. The United States are going to go for implementing high fuel efficiency standards, perhaps. Britain just raises taxes up. See, if you raise the taxes up, Ford, for example, will make Fiesta models that do 86 miles to the gallon. But in the United States, where the Fiesta only does 33 miles to the gallon, the government can implement fuel efficiency standards that cars of that type should do 50. So the 33 Ford might get it to do 50. But by raising taxes, the manufacturers will do much more for the public who are in trouble. And then you get much more out of the manufacturers. They won't just go up to that standard and stop. They will go off and beyond, and up to numbers like 86 miles to the gallon. Enough. I wasn't going to talk about these because I can go on about just about all of these articles. This is from Mish and his friend that sends him charts on fuel use. This is gasoline product supplied. If it's supplied, it's used. Those red dots are for the average of April, May and June. And you can just see the basic shape of it. From 95 coming up to 2007, it was trending upwards. And since 2007, it's trending downwards. And this is not anything to do with fuel efficiency standards. The United States just isn't using as much fuel on the roads as it used to. Right. Asia Pacific, India raises price of diesel by over 12%. India raised the price of heavily subsidized diesel on Thursday in a politically risky move to cut the budget deficit and fight the threat of being the first of the BRIC economies, Brazil, Russia, India and China, to be downgraded to junk. That's India. Diesel prices will rise from midnight on Thursday by more than 12%, or 5 rupees a litre. They were subsidized in India to a great extent. Asia Pacific Financial Times, again, link number 4, Japan to phase out nuclear power. Japan will phase out nuclear power by 2040, marking a major policy shift and the first formal decision to retreat from atomic energy since the disaster at Fukushima. The plan, which was announced Friday, is opposed by business groups, quite understandably. Their energy costs are going to soar, and has been questioned by officials from the US, UK and France, and means Japan will join Germany as the second major economy to turn away from nuclear power since last year's accident. And as I kind of stress for Japan every time I come across this sort of thing, Japan, Ireland, no natural carbon fuels to just pull out of the ground, has to import it all, used the great thing of the 20th century, which was nuclear power, and got lots of safe, cheap energy. Well, it was safe until it was shown that it wasn't safe. But what are they going to do now? And don't think, this is the thing that I push every time, don't think that they have not been thinking about this all the time since the Second World War. How are we going to power ourselves with our great industrial production? And they have come up with just about nothing. They came up with nuclear power, and now that's being abandoned, and they've got nothing else. And what I'm saying is, they are bright little bunnies, and they have put lots and lots of money and brain power into finding alternative, efficient replacements, and have not so done. And if those little Jappy people can't do it, I won't say nobody could do it, but it just means that the bar must be damn high, that the little Japs can't jump over it. Anyway, let's move on. Forbes. It's different reading when you read Forbes. You've got to know that it's capitalist piggery. Anyway, meet Alex Kranberg, the Texas oil man behind the newest Iraqi gusher. On Thursday, publicly traded Shah Maran Petroleum announced that a new well drilled into the Atrush exploration block in the Kurdish region of Iraq was tested at a flow rate of more than 42,000 barrels per day. Not a bad shot. This is a colossal well, the likes of which hasn't been seen onshore in the United States in decades. By comparison, most new wells drilled in the Barken Play of North Dakota are lucky to do 1,000 barrels per day for the first few weeks before quickly falling off. 1,000 barrels a day for the first few weeks and then quickly fall off. But it's a big area. Oh, let's go on to the last link. It's a big area, and they can stick lots of pins in and get lots and lots of those 1,000s that quickly fall off and then move to another one. Anyway, let's move to this last one, which is number 6. North Dakota's Barken oil output passes 600,000 barrels a day. Oil production from the North Dakota portion of the Barken Shale Formation topped 600,000 barrels a day for the first time in July, up 69% from a year earlier. North Dakota's Barken output was 609,580 barrels a day in July. It's amazing how quickly, etc., etc. Let's go down towards the bottom. Increased production out of the Barken, the Eagle Ford Formation in southern Texas and the Permian Basin in western Texas helped U.S. oil output rise to the highest level in 13 years. The U.S. met 83% of its energy demand from domestic sources in the first 5 months of this year, heading for the highest annual level since 1991, according to department figures. That's quite a performance. But the fact is, how cheap is this stuff? Or the big bottom line is, how cheap is this stuff? They're pulling it out of the ground. It's tricky to get out. And that's the bottom line. You've got 83% for the moment. It's going to drop off very quickly, and it's not cheap. This is the great problem of the world. Because the level has now ramped up to it, the price has ramped up to a plateau, a high plateau of, let's say, 80 minimum, 80 to 120, that they're going out there and not finding, they've generally known where stuff was. Some extraction becomes valable, don't know what the English word is, worthwhile at that price. And that's the big problem, that there is now a plateau in oil, not production, but it seems price. They're getting more production out of the globe, the earth, but the price has gone from where it was 10 years ago, well, 12 years ago, where it was 15, 20 bucks, to now 80 to 120 bucks. And that's an awful big difference. And if it wasn't even the financial problems of the world, those energy problems of the world would certainly pull down what otherwise could be quite explosive growth in the world. But we don't get the explosive growth because there are financial problems and basically underlying energy problems. Leave it there. Shut up, Nick. That's it for a Monday. Bye.